And we are live. Welcome YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whoever else is watching on the internet, social media. I am Jabril Suleiman, and this is the Pensacola Perspective. What's the Pensacola Perspective? And I'm gonna get this tagline right eventually because right now it's long and I'm making it shorter and shorter. But it's a show that focuses on the social and political issues here in Pensacola, Florida. So, I mean, whether it's from uh, so many things that's happening in our community that basically aren't highlighted. I have a highlighter here today to highlight it. How cheesy was that?
And we are live. Welcome.
Oh, and I had my YouTube player playing in the background, so it just played back the feed there. So don't worry about that. We're live. And Keyontay did the same thing. Keyontay, we're messing up here a little bit, but hey, it's a live show. It's our second show. That's fine. If the sky falls, we're going to keep going, just like that. But I have today Keyontay Humphries. So much to say about her. The first time that I met her, and I don't think I officially met her, but at that particular point in time, where we were at one of the Pensacola networking events, and our dearest superintendent, Malcolm Thomas, was there, and she got up and she gave her 2 cents, and more like $1 or $2. Another cheesy one. That's all right. We're gonna keep it coming. And she gave her 2 cents, and I was like, wow, who is this person? So eventually, I had the chance to meet her, and she was actually awarded this weekend by the Gulf Coast African American Chamber of Commerce at their community awards ceremony. I mean, regional organizer for the ACLU of Florida. I mean, a graduate of Kalamazoo College in Michigan. A facilitator for the Escambia-Youth Justice-Coalition. What else? I mean, she was instrumental in filing a U.S. Department of Education Office for Civil Rights complaint against 5 Florida school districts, which includes Escambia County. So I can imagine why you may not have landed on our superintendent's good side, but it doesn't matter. You're also the one of the co-hosts for the Community Awareness Show. You're a co-host along with Mr. Jerry McIntosh. Everybody, welcome Miss Keyontay Humphries. Woo! If I had a clap, I need an audience back here. Go ahead, Keyontay. How you doing today?
I'm great, Jabril. How are you this evening? And just so the audience knows, we recently renamed our show, Jerry and I. It's now Our Voices, but you can always catch that show the second and fourth Sundays of every month at the McIntoshPrinciple.com. New name, same great show, same great co-host, but more importantly, happy to be here tonight with you on the Pensacola Perspective.
I am so happy to have you here. We've been looking for, first of all, there's no shortage of talent, of very qualified guests for this show here in Pensacola, and you fit the bill, and I'm definitely happy to have you here and to let whoever's watching right now really know who you are and get to know you. First of all, you're a transplant. You're not originally from Pensacola. What in the hell are you doing in Pensacola? That's the first question.
Well, the ACLU of Northwest Florida, or Florida, actually brought me here. Previously, I was working for the Southern Poverty Law Center in their Florida office. Was coming back and forth to Pensacola for a bit over about a 3-year time span because of the work I was doing as an advocate. And you talked earlier about the 5 OCR complaints that I was the lead facilitator in filing. And so as a part of that work, built relationships here in Pensacola. And I guess you can say the ACLU eventually stole me away to move me here and really get down into the nitty-gritty of social activism here in Pensacola.
Social activism. I mean, and that's one of the things that you see everywhere else except for Pensacola a lot of times. I mean, there are some guys here that they have some great groups and they're making things happen. But you know, sometimes you more so you see a lot of the older people in the community that are involved with, and they're tied with that phrase social activism. You know, once in a while you do see that one younger person that's there trying to make a difference, and we see that you're definitely doing that. So you know, there's so much going on right now. Voting, the youth. I think we're going to start with voting right now. You know, we talked a little bit yesterday. You know, I like to have a pre-interview, work out all the technical difficulties and stuff. And you know, one of the things that we wanted to talk about, there's a couple amendments on the ballot right now that people are voting for as they vote for their candidate of choice. And we want to talk about a little bit about Amendment 3. Can you talk about Amendment 3, describe what it is, and just tell us your shake on it?
Sure. Well, first let me say that as the regional organizer for the ACLU, I am nonpartisan but political. Okay, so let's put that out there up front. But with that, Amendment 3, just for folks who don't know what the bill is about, it would allow the seated governor to appoint new judges as prospective appointees prior to the seated governor leaving office. That may seem kind of confusing, so I'll make it plain. Governor Scott, the governor of Florida, wants the power, in case he has to leave office come November 4th, to appoint the next district judges across our state. Right. That power is generally allowed or given to the next governor, who in this state, most folks, I say most folks, are probably hoping that will be Charlie Crist. And so this is a tactic, we believe, a political tactic, to try to sway or move the pendulum of justice to the conservative side, because the governor, if this bill were to pass and change Florida Constitution, would allow the current governor, i.e. Rick Scott, to appoint before he even leaves office and before those judges' terms are up, as the prospective judges for the next 4 to 6 years. And if not indefinitely, because some of those positions are lifetime positions until the person retires and or passes away.
Well, from what I understand too, I guess some of the terms are up until at least 2019. Is that correct? So yes. I mean, that's going to be well past. You know, our governor, if whoever Charlie Crist actually, you know, elected into the position, I mean, you know, he wouldn't have any power to elect anyone else. He wouldn't. You know, his term would be up by that particular point in time for, you know, first term anyway. So, wow. So even though you don't have a official position as a representative of the ACLU, sounds like something that we would don't want to give the governor. We don't definitely don't want to give the governor.
I can't tell you who to vote for, and whether it's Charlie Crist, Big Bird, or Rick Scott. However, as the ACLU, we are asking people to vote no on Amendment 3, mainly because of its constitutionality. The citizens reserve the right to elect the governor, and they do that with the assumption that the governor, whom they elect, will make the necessary appointees at the designated time. This is a last-ditch effort to take that power away from Floridians, and so we are asking Floridians across the state to vote no on Amendment 3.
Got that, everybody? Whoever's listening, whoever's going to watch this between now and the time that they vote, because you have until November the 1st for early voting, and then after that, it's that time, November the 4th, Tuesday. I hope everybody's ready to get up early who hasn't voted early, and you're ready to vote yes on Amendment 2, no on Amendment 3. Let's talk about neighborhood votes. What, you know, I saw the web page pop up, you know, maybe a couple months ago actually, and I was surprised to see that, or more excited to see that you know, you were running things behind that. And tell everybody what that initiative is about and what's your aim with neighborhood votes.
Well, just want to clear up one quick thing. The neighborhood votes is a community collaborative effort. So
okay. Not just you.
not just me, not just me. I want to make sure that the folks out in the neighborhood know that. It is made up actually, and I'm very happy and pleased to know that we were able to bring together so many different community entities. And so we have the sisters from Muhammad Mosque 98, a group of people that traditionally folks didn't think get involved in politics, but under the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he is put forth that the nation is now a political entity and can become a part of local politics. And so definitely happy to have the women there. Miss Georgia Black Men Forum, the Gathering Awareness Book Center, also some local churches and ministers, and some lay folks, just other community activists and leaders. We all got together and said, the election was happening around vulnerable communities. It was not including those folks in the community that really needed to be empowered. And so kind of you were throwing out jokes earlier, you know, the neighborhood votes. We thought about it, especially for the young population. The hood votes, right? People can say what they want to say about the hood, but everybody there isn't a convicted felon and they have the right to vote, right? And so we wanted to make sure that the ghettos, the hood, the neighborhood, the community, their voice was heard, and that they were actively involved in the political process from voter engagement to even turning out to vote. And so that's really where it comes from. And I'm just happy that they kind of let me facilitate and put the pieces together, but by no means am I the only person who's pushing that train forward.
I mean, and that's one of your passions there. What fueled that passion to make you want to get out and make sure that everybody, is it something that stemmed from even just working with the ACLU, or is it a passion that you've had in the past before you even aligned with the ACLU, or what's the motivation behind getting people out to vote for you?
For folks who follow me on Facebook, you will know my hashtag is "It's in my DNA," and I can't stress that enough. I come from two wonderful parents. Shout out to Detroit.
In my DNA.
It's in my DNA. Hashtag it's in my DNA. Yes, the person I am, I really believe that, you know, God blessed my parents with me. And it's funny because I have a younger brother who's a big athlete, and we thought he was going to be a girl, and he popped out a boy, right? And so God definitely has blessed my parents with children who it's very obvious it's in their DNA, the gifts and talents that they have. And I'm humbled to say that one of my gifts and talents is community engagement, community empowerment, political organizing, and all of those great things. My father is an attorney. He's also run a number of political campaigns. My mother is a social worker, and so she's all about community. But even from my grandparents on back, it's truly in my DNA, the success that I've had thus far.
So, Ms. Humphries, for city council, commissioner, mayor, which is it? Which titles, which hats should we be aiming for in 2016, 2020, 2024? Which one?
I'm going to leave that up to the people. You know, I'm new to Pensacola. I haven't been here a year yet. But, you know, I believe if the people want you, politics is about being a public servant. And so if enough people in the community come together and say, Keyontay, let's sit down and chat, we think you'd be a great candidate for this, I'm not against it. But right now, you know, I think I can accomplish a lot through the work that I'm doing with the ACLU and the various other organizations that I'm working with. I'm not looking for a political office. I don't need the title. That title comes with a level of political correctness that folks might not be happy about. And so right now I am definitely content in the work that I'm doing. But hey, if folks want to get together and talk about it, I'm all for a political action committee and/or candidacy seat next time around. If the community is going to come out, I believe that when folks invest in a campaign, they want you to win. And so I'm not going to ever step out prematurely and run for anything if I don't feel like I have the community support behind me.
So that's something that's, you mentioned a political action committee, a PAC, and that's something that it seems like there's a void of around here, some type of community support from parts of the community that really has no representation. Is that something? So that's something that you want to put out there, that you're looking to put together some type of PAC, or what are your thoughts about that?
Definitely. Like I said, my priority right now would probably be a PAC. Even within the few months I've been in Pensacola or Escambia County, I've realized that there are a few who are making decisions for the masses, and that's just not how democracy is truly supposed to work. We do have a representative democracy, and I get that. But here in Pensacola, we've got a few people who live south of Cervantes making decisions about what happens throughout this city and or this county, and that's simply not fair. I mean, there are some great folks over in Cantonment, Century, Myrtle Grove, and Inglewood, all of these neighborhoods, Bronzeville, who, you know, all they think about is District 3, and our political spectrum is much larger than that. And so we need to be able to pull together our resources, educate not only the community, but hear from candidates when they're coming into our churches and our communities knocking on doors, so that folks know this is a good person versus that's not, maybe not the person who has my best interest at heart. Because right now folks just feel like I checked the box for Democrat or I checked the box for Republican, and it's really got us into a mess here in Pensacola. High unemployment rate, one of the highest rates of poverty, high school graduate, our graduation rate is super low. It's like 50% for African American kids, only 60% for all students. Everybody's talking about bringing jobs here, but who's going to work the jobs if people here don't have the skills or just the basic education to go into these jobs? And so what you're going to see, which is what is happening with, say, Navy Federal, they're bringing people here from all over the world because the workforce wasn't here to take on the jobs that they brought. And so,
and that was the announcement that they're bringing in. They were going to bring in, I believe, it's an additional 5,000 jobs here to Pensacola or to this area, to the MSA. And who's going to fill those jobs? So I can definitely understand. You're going right into the next line of questioning that I wanted to talk to you about. From dealing with the politics of things, you're getting into the social issues here in Pensacola. And one big social issue that, and this is how you introduced yourself to me that night at the Pensacola Network, was talking about that school-to-prison pipeline, the level of education or the lack of education within our public schools here in Pensacola. I mean, well, tell me a little bit about our work, your work. It's part of the Escambia-Youth Justice-Coalition, correct? So just tell me a little bit about that program of works. And it's not just you, right? And it is a community effort. So go ahead and tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the Escambia-Youth Justice-Coalition started about 2 years ago, about 2.5 years ago now. And I am the facilitator, and so I basically keep track of our meeting minutes. I disseminate them. I tend to do a lot of research, but the committee, the coalition, is made up, again, of local churches, the NAACP, Milk and Honey, the Gulf Coast African American Chamber, I think I said Movement for Change. I mean, we've got a number of business owners, retired teachers, who are all a part of the conversation we're having, because no matter what field you're from, most people in this town, black and white, poor and wealth, have had a negative run-in with our school system, right? We've had a number of families that have come through the coalition requesting help for, kids who are over at Tate High, traditionally a high school where it's white kids and privileged white kids to some extent, who've been arrested because of a full food fight in the cafeteria. We've also had a young man who was arrested and in middle school because he helped a friend who was getting beat up, and he tried to break up the fight, and the SRO arrested him as well, right? And so folks who get the opportunity to hear me locally hear me always share one statistic, and I tell people, when you hear me speak, please take this with you. And I'm going to put this in perspective for folks. Escambia County incarcerates more children than any other county in the state of Florida per capita.
Wow.
Florida incarcerates more children than any other state in the nation per capita. The U.S.
Say that last statement again.
No problem. Florida incarcerates more children per capita than any other state in the nation. Okay? The U.S. incarcerates more people, or more children, I'm sorry, than any other developed country in the world. And so if we drill back, that tells us that in Escambia County, we incarcerate more children than any other place in the world.
So is this one of the main drivers why you were um, instrumental, excuse me, in suing the school board, or excuse me, Escambia County, along with 4 other counties here in Florida? Is that one of the reasons why?
That was one of the primary reasons, actually. Yes, you definitely hit the nail on the head with that. We looked at not only the incarceration rate, the number of students who were arrested at school, but also the number of students who were suspended and expelled from school. Just today, I was researching and doing some number crunching for a study that the ACLU is going to put out next year, and Escambia County is number 2 in the country. I'm sorry, in the state right now for the number of children who are expelled from school without services, at 19.9%. So not
So
almost.
what do you mean by without services? Explain that.
So that means that they give you a letter that says you've been expelled, go home for 2 years, and you figure out what to do for an education for the next 2 years.
Wow.
And so for families, especially working families, you know, what is a parent to do? You're probably in public school because your parents can't afford private school.
Right.
Your parents are working, so they can't sit at home with you all day and do homeschooling or Florida virtual. So without services, and God forbid that you're a child with special needs of any kind, whether they be developmental, academic, or social. And so now you're expelled from school, mind you, and we're not talking about kids who are taking drugs to school. We're not talking about kids who are the active shooters. And my heart and my condolences goes out to the folks in Washington that recently had that happen. We're talking about kids who are oftentimes expelled for things like insubordination, excessive tardiness, things that if the school worked with the family and even the community, you could find resolution, except they're saying, we don't want to take the time to do that. Get out.
I mean, I always think back to my high school years, especially, or even middle school years. I mean, there was, of course, you had ISS, you had a 5-day suspension, you had a 10-day suspension especially for fights now. But I mean, they're arresting these kids. I actually, my son attends one of the local middle schools, and I was going up to the middle school, and they literally had the kid in cuffs, putting them in the back of the car. I mean, this is something I would never have thought of before. And so I can definitely see where that type of excessive punishment for something like tardies will lead to a situation where, I mean, this kid could end up with a record for no reason, basically. I definitely see that.
And what we find statistically, even right here in Escambia County, we're on the Pensacola Perspective, is that African American males, LGBT youth, and children with disabilities are the top 3 demographics that we're seeing being pushed out of school. It is not a safe place to be, and you would think it would actually be the opposite. But if you are a child with a disability, if you're an African American male, or if you happen to be a member of the LGBT community, school is simply not a safe place for you. It's not a safe haven. Many of these students go to school every day with the fear of being bullied by teachers, not just their classmates, but being bullied, being arrested at school. And what folks need to realize, especially here in the state of Florida, is that if you're arrested, even if it's at the age of 9, and it's because of a classroom fight or a food fight in the cafeteria, you will always and forever have that arrest record. It never goes away. And so we now see some 25 years after the laws were passed for zero tolerance, where we have a number of young people who are Floridians who have gone away to college, tried to turn their lives around, and they're coming back and they can't get jobs, they can't get mortgages because they have an arrest record. And God forbid it was for a fight or something, it's a violent offense, which disqualifies them for many programs.
Now, we've outlined a little bit of a lot of the issues that are going on here in this area. What do you see as solutions? What needs to be done? What should the school board do? What should the superintendent do? What should the teachers do? What should the parents ourselves do to really fix this issue?
Well, definitely get involved. Commissioner May says all the time, be a mentor, and I hands down support that. But we've got to do more than just mentor kids when we know that the laws are stacked against them. We are now at a time where we have the opportunity to elect a new superintendent. We also have the opportunity to elect a new mayor and city council people. And there are opportunities and programs and social services out there that aren't going to cost taxpayers anything, but simply require the stakeholders coming to the table and saying we're willing to work on these issues collaboratively. It's not going to cost us an extra dime. We won't have to put out another penny sales tax or anything. But these folks who we now have the opportunity to elect, and in 2016 we'll have an opportunity to elect a new superintendent, we need to make sure we're putting people in office who have the power to change laws and who will in fact change the laws so that they are operating in the best interest of our children. Having policies, I mean, and I'll give the superintendent this. This school year, he did change the cell phone policy, which we've seen help some kids. We've also seen changes to the dress code policy. I'll give him that.
Yes,
parents.
Not to cut you off, but I was talking to my son, and you know, he goes to a school where there is, of course, a dress code, there, a uniform code, and so I was amazed this year when he expressed the fact that they didn't have to tuck in their shirts anymore. He still tucks in his shirt. I guess he's been doing it for 2 years now, and that's something that he does, and I'm proud of him for being as presentable as he should be. But apparently now they've laxed, you know, they've gone ahead and laxed that policy. But so I asked him, I said, why do you think that's the case? And he said because they were handing out a lot of step 1, step 2, step 3s or whatever in referrals because kids weren't tucking in their shirts, and that should not be an offense that someone should write up a child for just simply not tucking in their shirt in that fashion.
Exactly, Jabril, and that's what at the ACLU we're concerned about: the over-incarceration or over-retribution of offenses. Right? I'm not saying that young men should pull up their pants and tuck their shirts. I'm not saying young women shouldn't come to school in a fashion that, you know, is appropriate. But we shouldn't be suspending and arresting them for these type of offenses. The criminal justice system should be reserved for lawbreakers, not people who have twisted the law in a way that help them get rid of maybe one extra kid in the classroom. And so you definitely got it. And we've seen this with, again, with LGBT youth, who some dress more girlish or more boyish, and people saying, or administrators saying, you're not dressed gender appropriate, and so now you're going to be suspended and or arrested because of insubordination, or for disrespect or things. I mean, just crazy, ludicrous types of things. And so again, I do have to give the superintendent some credit for making some changes. However, I disagree with the quote status that this is a big ship and you can only move it slowly. No, you're the captain, and if there's an iceberg ahead, you move that ship as quickly as possible. And I would say with the graduation rate that we have in Escambia County, the lack of job readiness programs we have in Escambia County, the crime actually steadily going back up, we've got an iceberg ahead of us, and we got to move this school district in a different direction quickly, or we're going to sink.
Keyontay, we have maybe about 2 minutes left. Let everybody now know how they can get in touch with you, how they can get in touch with the organizations that you represent. How can we further this along? You know, we use social media a lot for communicating. I think it's always a big help in coordinating and communicating the effort and the attention that's needed on these issues. Just tell everybody how can they get in touch with you, and how can we further things along?
Sure. And so Facebook is a great tool. My name is actually my Facebook name, and so that's Keyontay Humphries. It should show up on the bottom of people's screens, the correct spelling. You can also reach me through email, and it's khumphries@aclufl.org. My local telephone number, it comes through a mainstream out of Miami, so that number is 786-363-2739. But also check out all of the different Facebook pages that are associated with the work that I'm doing, the Escambia-Youth Justice-Coalition, the Pensacola Alliance for Equality, the LGBT Film Festival. What else is out there? The neighborhood votes. You know, I'm involved in so much, but you know, if people need me, the best way to reach me is definitely through email. I get told all the time my voicemail box is full, so email, I see it, I can respond to it, and or inbox me on Facebook, and it is in fact my name, Keyontay Humphries.
And hopefully everyone, we will definitely have Keyontay on as in my chair as well. bringing on additional people who can really speak out and speak to the issues that a lot of us are concerned with that aren't getting the attention on in some of these other media outlets out here, especially here in Pensacola. So, you know, hopefully, Keyontay, we can definitely have you back here to help moderate some of these discussions. I mean, that's what we are all about here at the Pensacola Perspective. It's just creating this dialogue, allowing people to view it. I'd like to thank all the viewers that have actually watched. Of course, pass this link along, pass this YouTube link along, share it to everyone. Even though we're live, it's recording directly to YouTube, so the link will be up for anyone to watch whenever they want to watch it. So, Keyontay, I'd like to thank you once again. And this is the Pensacola Perspective, signing off. Until the next show, peace.